hacía falta. Hola, hola. Vamos a empezar ya. Todos los que estén fuera, que quieran entrar, que entren ya, por favor. Bueno, recordaros que la charla es en inglés. Franke, que es nuestro ponente, está ahora mismo en Alemania y durará alrededor de unos 45 minutos, ¿vale? So, Dan, here we are. Hi.
Hey guys.
¿Me pincháis la pantalla, porfa? Silencio. Well, Dan, I will try to speak in English and in Spanish, so maybe a little difficult.
No worries.
Waiting for everybody to sit. We have with COVID protocol, so it's a kind of shitty thing. Okay. Well,
hey guys.
I have a light over there. You can say hello to Dan. Okay. So we are so pleased to have this conference with Dan Frank, one of the creators of Studio Syro, that it's a production company that works with Quill. And we talk with him just to explain more the business part, how to manage a company. And Dan, thank you very much for being there online. We have few people here in the room, but and another few on the web, in the online world. So just to thank you and to let you talk about what wonderful jobs and works are you doing in Studio Syro, that we are very big fan of you. So I let you with the public in the room, and all for you.
Thanks to you. Thanks to Next Lab for having me. Hi guys. I am Dan Frank. I am a VR artist based in Germany and one of 7 co-founders of Studio Syro. And you might have heard of our studio, or might have seen a little bit here and there, maybe in your workshops. But for the ones who don't know, we are an international team of designers, animators, and developers using the VR painting tool Quill to produce handcrafted experiences both in and out of VR. And I know that all of you have used Quill, so I don't have to explain what it is. And I have to say I was truly blown away by the results of your workshops. I've seen the projects and saw what you guys did and how you use different techniques and using Quill. So all of you have gotten a glimpse of what it means to work with Quill and how to put it into your workflows. But today I'm going to talk about what it means to take a step further and actually found a studio and run a studio around the thought of using Quill as the main production tool, as the core of the production. But before we do that, I'm going to quickly take you through my journey with Quill and how I started out and how the studio was created. So I have studied at the Film Academy Baden-Württemberg at the Animation Institute, where we got the one in a lifetime chance to actually have Goro Fujita the Quill artist, the god of Quill, to come to our university for his actually very first Quill workshop ever. And there I got my hands on Quill for the very first time. It was 2.5 years ago now. And since then, I have never touched any other tool or program again. I've always been a generalist. I've done 3D, 2D, even stop motion. I've done concept art, animation, directing, pretty much the whole thing. But I never felt that I have the one tool set to let me do everything, to do a film completely by myself or with a small team. But having used Quill once, I knew this is it. This is the one that I need. That is the tool where if you are a 2D animator, you can suddenly animate in 3D, or if you have never done effects animation, you can suddenly do it with this one tool. So since then, everything changed for me, and I immediately sat down and made a 2-minute short, actually in 2 days, about a small mouse rover being depressed and fed up with his work and having an existential crisis, which is a good timing because the next mouse rover, Perseverance, just landed 2 days ago. So that happened 2.5 years ago, and since then I pushed harder and harder myself to use Quill in crazy ways, but also to push Quill and kind of the creators of Quill to see what can be done with this tool. And as an example of what I achieved at the peak of pushing Quill to its limits, I want to show you a quick project that I made, basically a recreation of a Spider-Verse clip. And that entire project took 2.5 weeks to do, and showcases how crazy this small little tool can be.
When do I know I'm Spider-Man?
You won't. That's all it is, Miles. A leap of faith.
Like, what's up, danger? I'm on my own. If I'm waiting, it's on my phone. If I sound lazy, just ignore my tone. Cause I'm always gonna answer when you call my phone. Like, what's up, danger? Can't stop me now.
Thanks. And having kind of seen that with my own eyes, just making this project for just 2 weeks, where as a one-man project, where usually you have hundreds of people working on something like that. I mean, I realized I'm gonna go all in with Quill. I'm gonna do this and see where it goes. And yeah, 2 years ago, then suddenly a couple of animators from the virtual animation group approached me to help out on a project. It was a music video, actually 2 music videos in one, a 7-minute film, for the music artist Slushy. And with a team of 5 people, we sat down and made an actual 7-minute film in 1.5 months with Quill, completely animated in Quill and rendered in Unity. And after 1.5 months, it was done, and we realized this is crazy. We actually have a somewhat working pipeline to do big films in a super small amount of time. And well, crazy how we were. We said, hey, why don't we do this again and just make more projects like that, and also found a studio. And so Studio Syro was born. We have 7 members. We have Peter Ariet, Funi, Nick Ladd, Nick Saunders, Nick Diaz, the 3 Nicks, Felix Stief, and myself. And together we are Studio Syro. And because we're all crazy people, we decided to not do another small project and do another thing and no, we actually decided to shoot for the stars and do something big that nobody has done before, and well, just create the world's first VR series entirely made in VR, which is Soda Island. And it is a series that we completely produce in-house independently. And Soda Island was originally created as an independent music label years ago, and a real-life music label, by a handful of music artists to do music on their own. And Funi, one of our members, was the one who actually visualized the world of Soda Island and its characters, and created the crazy detailed lore behind it. It's kind of like an Adventure Time style fantasy world, and very colorful, very music oriented. And we did those episodes. You can watch all 3 episodes, called Multiverse Bakery, The Neon Jungle, and Quantum Race, in the Oculus TV and the Quill Theater on all the Oculus headsets. And let me quickly show you, a small trailer. There we go. And yeah, what does it mean to make a big series like that? It was the first project that we made actually as a studio. We actually kind of founded the studio for this project, and so we didn't really have any working pipeline set up. We did that one music video and a couple of smaller things, but for this type of project, we didn't know what to do, and just jumped into this project and basically learned throughout the year how to set up a proper pipeline for such a project. And while I'm talking about coordinating the team, how we actually coordinate and communicate with each other, I'm gonna let another trailer run of the 2nd episode without sound. But yeah, so how do we coordinate the team? The craziest thing I think about Soda Island is, about Studio Syro, is that all of our members, we never have even met in real life. We have never even seen each other in real life. We just met, online. Some of us have known each other and studied together, but we are all around the world. So we have been a virtual studio basically from the beginning, and which means it's normal for us to have our home office and just communicate with each other virtually. So when COVID hit, basically nothing changed for us. So we were kind of lucky on that, founding a studio a virtual studio right before before COVID. But we actually don't use any, I guess, industry standard production tool. We do use Discord. We use a Discord server to communicate with each other. We don't use Slack or something like Shotgun. But we think that the way we can just easily jump into a call, into a small meeting, into just a voice call with each other, if we have a question, that feels the most natural, as if you were kind of look over each other's shoulder in an actual on location studio. So even if we are all virtual and we have never met, it still feels very close, and everybody is approachable at any given time. I think the way we coordinate the team in terms of distributing the tasks into kind of smaller departments, is pretty similar to how you would work at a usual production studio at a small scale like ours. So For example, at Solar Island, we do have the director, me being responsible for the storyboard, the animatic. I handle the master file, the big Quill file. I do the camera work and most of the main character animation. We have Funi, who is the creative director, who's doing the story writing. He does all of the art direction and the character designs. We have our Quill artists, with Felix being the head of environments, kind of leading that department. We have Nick Diaz doing the effects, and Nick Ladd having the daunting task of doing secondary animation, but also the optimization, taking this big Quill file and then kind of shrinking it down to make it run on mobile headsets like the Quest. And on top of that, we have Peter, who's doing all of the producing side. So that is basically the usual departments that you would also see in any production studio. And I think that in our case, we definitely said that it's important for everybody to have a head of role of a department. Even if we all kind of work in each department, one always should have one sort of leading role in every department, so that everybody has has a say in the studio or in the project. But that doesn't mean that I am directing all of our projects. I'm directing Solar Island, but and the roles for that project are fixed, but the roles for other projects or the roles in the studio they can vary from project to project, and that's also important for us to keep the way of like which projects we take on or who is doing what work, to keep that flexible, for us to be flexible as a studio, but also to have that creative outlet for everybody to have the opportunity to also just lead a project once in a while. Yeah, production pipeline. What does it mean to use Quill as the production tool? I guess many of you, or maybe all of you, know the usual pipeline of using different programs for different tasks. You would have to paint a concept art in Photoshop, then go to Maya or ZBrush and model it, animate it, do effects with Houdini or whatever, and then post-production with After Effects or Nuke, something like that. So you have many different tools for one film, and obviously in our case we only have Quill for the production side. In the pre-production, we do use Photoshop and to scribble ideas and to paint our environments before we go into Quill, and we obviously also use Premiere to edit our animatics. But once we go into the production, we only have Quill. We model our characters in there, we animate it, and there is basically no post-production. We also add it in Quill, so that is the final product. So it's obviously easier to just have to worry about one tool and everybody to work just with that tool. But it's also tricky sometimes, because Quill definitely isn't made to work in a studio sense. If you're alone and you do your little illustrations, that's no problem. But working as a team and then figuring out how to share the files and import and export them in, that's very tricky, and it took quite some time to figure that out for us as a studio. So for example, one of the biggest issues with Quill, and something that I guess isn't really solvable or would never go into Quill, is not having references. Something that you would usually have in any other type of production, that you, for example, update a character design or character model, and it automatically updates in, let's say, an animation shot. You can reference in assets into bigger master files. And in Quill, that is just not possible. Everything is manually, and you have to import things when somebody is working on an environment and has changed something. You have to import that environment manually, and there's no automation basically going on, which also means you have to have the finished character design before you start animation, because if you then change the characters, and afterwards you would have to reanimate the whole shot, obviously. So yeah, it's very tricky to set this thing up, and that is why we decided to, in our master file, to have all those sequences as folders, and within those sequences then have subfolders of the environment, the animation, and effects, so that each department basically could do their work separately from everybody else, and then save that folder of their department, and then I could then just import, let's say, the new environment, and just put that into the folder where it is needed. So that way I don't have to search for the updates, any little assets in the environment that changed, but we have very strict separation between the work that we have in our departments. And there are many different things that, like that we had to figure out for our pipeline. For example, we're actually using GitHub to share our files around, because they can get pretty heavy real quick. And but yeah, we're basically also still searching for better ways of using our pipeline. But there are many different things, and I don't want to go into much more detail. But yeah, you see that you definitely have to have workarounds in Quill. Things that are just simple if you are working with Maya or any other program that you don't have in Quill. Might seem that Quill is a limited app, limited program, which it still is. I mean, it's taken its first footsteps. It's getting updates every few months, and very important updates every time. But it's still a very early and sort of limited program. But I always say, or I like to kind of preach that doesn't mean that Quill is not usable, or that it's hard to work with it. I think personally, I think a limited program like that makes you think about more interesting ways of utilizing it. And basically every day I'm working with Quill, I'm inventing new techniques that haven't been done before like that. So I see, okay, if I do that hand movement, it does this in the animation, and I could use that for that. And my brain is just, I don't know, constantly working, and it's much more rewarding at the end of the day to have gone through this process and inventing new things. And it really feels like you are doing pioneer work with Quill, and just reinventing the tool itself, which wouldn't be possible in Maya. If I need to do something in Maya, I Google a script, and then I have it, and then it's done. It's for me, it's just not as rewarding. So yes, you do have to find workarounds, but if you found them, then I think it feels very nice. So yeah, talking about production budgets. I'm obviously not going to talk about specific numbers or like the sources of our funding, but just one, I think, important point to stress is that this is still a very new industry, the VR industry, and I mean the Quill animation industry, if you want to call it, especially. And that means we don't really have to fight against the we don't have to fight the money fight. It's not as competitive as it would be in a usual 3D or 2D world, where all the small kind of studios are just making things cheaper and cheaper, and then it's just hard for you as a small studio to survive. And I think that's important to know and to understand if some of you think about making a VR studio, to realize that you are, together with us, building a new industry. We are defining what it means to sell a VR product or like a VR story, and that should be worth something. And the worth of your work, and you shouldn't sell yourself, cheap. And because if we start this thing all over again, the VR industry also is going to get cheaper and cheaper, and it's going to ruin the fun for everyone. So as long as the, you know, I mean, right now we can basically set our prices, and there are companies out there who are willing to pay that price, and who are trying to push for VR, you know, pushing VR into the mainstream. So there shouldn't be any sort of budget issues, and you should realize that going into that industry, that you can, you know, earn some proper money with this while having fun and doing art. So yeah, just keep that in mind if you want to, you know, do the same thing as us and actually, you know, found a little studio. I've seen, as I said, your projects, and I think at least one of your projects has worked with game engines, with the Unreal Engine. I personally have played with it before we founded the studio. I love Unreal Engine. At the studio, we use Unity. But in general, I think Quill and game engines are a powerful tool to utilize, and in many ways. You could use it, as you guys did, for you know, a trailer for a film, where you just animate things in Quill, export them, and then you can do some cool, you know, lighting things with it in game engines, and use the effectiveness of game engines together with Quill to produce really cool results super quickly without having to render anything. Rendering to me is the most painful process in, you know, 3D, and jumping over that and just using game engines, I think is really, really nice. But also for games itself, we are jumping. Oh, whoops. Yeah, let's play that. We're jumping more and more into making games and actual VR platforms. And we are obviously using Quill to produce some assets for it, and just putting them into Unity, doing a little bit of game design and game development, and you have a functioning game, or at least a prototype of a game. And this, for example, is called Snap Squatch. It was just a 2-day hackathon that we did for the Global Game Jam that happened a couple of weeks ago. And we sat down for 2 days, you know, developed this idea of going through, you know, a world where you find through an area where you can see and photograph a Bigfoot, like super weird Bigfoot creatures. And we built those characters, animated them, and yeah, put them into the game engine. And after 2 days, you have a proper fun prototype of a game. And I think this stuff could be used for anything. If you are in a bigger studio, you could use that type of workflow to just get to results very, very quickly. There we go. And talking about, well, the big players out there, we are, as our studio, we are, you know, like a small player still, but we are trying to define the industry and what it means to tell VR stories with Quill. But I think also the big players, you know, the big studios out there, the ones who don't even do VR storytelling, or just do, you know, the Pixars and Disneys out there, I think they could really add Quill to their repertoire and into their pipeline. Meaning, if I would say even one Quill artist in a big studio would be worth so much. If you have a generalist in Quill, they could do concept art, not only in Photoshop, but you could give them a painting, and they could already try variations of that design already in 3D, meaning you can design a set in 3D already with colors, and immediately put that 3D set, or even multiple variations of that set, into the usual 3D pipeline, for example, for previs and for animatics and stuff like that. something that we use it for now with the new Quill update that came a couple of months ago. We do storyboards in Quill. We started beginning of last year. We still did storyboards in 2D. You know, I painted a lot of storyboards in Photoshop, and then, you know, through the usual process, we brought it into Premiere, edited our animatic there, and then afterwards we go into Quill and you know, into the next steps. But now with Quill having the opportunity to properly export camera work and just export a film basically out of it, makes it so much more easier to just do storyboarding with rough characters and rough sets, basically just gray boxed sets already in Quill and already in 3D. And especially if you're doing a VR film, you know, already doing it in a 3D 360 space around you, rather than trying to have to figure out what it means to do, you know, to tell a story in VR just by having the 2D screen. So that, I think, with the new Quill pipeline that is possible right now, that will also be a big plus for just established studios to put into their pipeline. Not having to rely on one storyboard artist, only being able to do 2D drawings all day, but just adding to that a Quill artist who can do storyboards in 3D, and for example, trying out more difficult shots where you need maybe like a camera shot, like a crane shot or whatever, or just an action shot that needs a lot of motion. You can super quickly prototype stuff like that in Quill. And again, I think it's there are different techniques that could be utilized for, you know, for the big players out there. And I know that you guys have worked with Daniel, and you know, he's an established artist. He's working in the industry and he knows the rules and the workflows. And I'm sure that those guys who just, you know, are working in the big studios like Disney, Pixar, you know, they see the potential, and I hope that those studios also slowly start to use those tools, because again, for them it's a little bit of a little progress in their workflow, but also a step, especially for smaller studios. Just one Quill artist would be worth so much. But yeah, all right. And talking about the community, talking about the artists that you have worked with, and that we work with, the virtual animation community is really one of the best communities out there, I would say. We created a Discord server last year, and we have Saturday kind of workshop sessions every Saturday, and we teach each other. You can ask questions. We tell each other about jobs that are out there, and yes, there are quite a few Quill jobs out there. And you know, if you feel lost, there is a community that really helps you. And well, through that community, our team was formed. So, and multiple more teams are being formed at the moment. So we are not the only studio out there. And also there are, as I said, like the big players, there are a few studios who are kind of joining that community. There's Blue Zoo, who's an established 3D studio who've done like multiple shorts now in Quill and are releasing it on the same platform that we are releasing them. And I think that is just an amazing thing, that you could go into this industry being, let's say, a student who has tried Quill and loves Quill, who is learning still like animation and stuff like that. You can come into this community and into open arms, where people who are veterans of the industry, who've worked in the industry for 20 years, who know their stuff. They can teach you, and you can work together with them on super amazing projects. And I think that is just not really it's a lot tougher to do that in the usual industry. You know, you start as a junior somewhere and you have to build yourself up. But this community is just so open and yeah, so helpful. So yeah, you can find the Discord if you're interested. I know you guys work with Quill and hopefully will continue to work with Quill. And you can just search for that Discord channel. And we also have Goro Fujita, who is leading the kind of the, let's say, the social media side. And we have the virtual animation group on Facebook. And every week there's a Quill weekly challenge, a topic that you get, and you do your Quill illustration on it. And then again, we help each other out and give feedback. So really amazing community. I kind of sped through the whole thing, and I guess just as an idea, I mean, you guys with the workshops that you did and the really amazing projects that came out of it, I guess are kind of at the stage that I was after, hopefully you are, after I realized how amazing Quill is, and where I then made the decision to go all in to Quill and just push my work by using Quill, and just by that, while doing that, I'm also pushing Quill itself as a tool. And I hope that you guys see the potential that not only that tool has, but the potential that you could just grow through such a tool, and the amazing community and the amazing industry you could step into if you keep continuing working with Quill. And I know, I mean, founding a studio might be a little bit much, but maybe it's an option for you guys, because again, the stuff that you did with just basically, I guess, just having learned Quill, you guys rock. So I can only tell you that, you know, try it and do a little bit more with it, and there could be, you know, that could be your future, because it is mine, and I know it's a fun ride. It's a fun ride. And I can only tell you, follow us on our socials. We are on our website, studiosyro.com, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I guess, I mean, I sped through it quite a bit, so I would actually be open to answer a few questions, like specific questions, talking about the studio work, if you have them.
Deserve a very big round of applause of the public.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, Dan. You were so kind to share all your knowledge about building a company in Quill. And one very, I think, important thing is the community behind all this. So for that, thank you very much. I'm going to ask if there's any question in the room. Okay. ¿Alguna pregunta? There's one question there. And he can maybe make it in English. Yeah.
Hi, good evening. So, can you hear me?
Do you hear him?
I guess you could repeat the question maybe afterwards.
No, I didn't ask. I was just like saying hi. But can you hear me?
Oh yeah, hi.
Okay, hi. Amazing talk. Well, the obvious question would be like, do you have any openings? Haha. But the thing is, like, traditional studios, they usually grow exponentially. As projects come, the team grows, the pipeline makes it bigger. Do you have any idea how big your studio could grow? As in, like, do you have like a, I don't know really how to ask the question, but is there any kind of limits in terms of like people you're able to command, or it will be more depending on the project, or yeah, how do you think this is going to work out on the long run, if that makes sense?
Did I understand the question right in terms of the main question being how big the studio can grow and how big the studio can just be in the future?
Yes, because
that was
it's
right.
such a weird pipeline.
Well, I mean, that's a good question. A question that we ask ourselves, obviously.
Yep. No me jodas. ¿Qué está por internet metido? Reconnecting Zoom. Okay, Dan, here we are again.
Wait, what? I cannot.
Hello. Now you hear
Yeah.
me? Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I won't press any more buttons here. I promise.
You can hear me, right? Can you?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I just don't see myself, but that's fine. Yeah, the ones that we would bring on to the studio are the ones who are sharing their work, often. They share their work weekly, they do the weekly challenges, they show their work in Quill, and those are sometimes just already established artists who have worked in the industry, who know how to animate, who know how to paint environments, in a pretty way. But there are also ones who just started using Quill or just kind of started out in the industry. And so as a new artist who has a lot of talent, you can compete with those big guys up there. And if you fit into our studio, if you're a cool dude or just somebody you can also just play some games with or stuff like that, that is important. But if it fits, then we could see ourselves growing slightly and bringing more and more people on. Obviously, that's kind of a daunting task of, and a good question of how to grow a studio like ours. But I mean, it's pretty much unavoidable that we're going to grow. I don't really know. I couldn't give you a number of people that should be in the studio. If we wanted to, we could grow pretty big, like 30 people or something, or like relatively big in terms of being still a small company. But I think for now, we don't really want to do that, to be honest. We want to just do it in a natural way of bringing more projects on and bringing the right people on and still being able to kind of do that in just a natural way without having to force it. Because again, there are projects out there. And the people searching for collaborations, and if you are a leading artist or a leading studio in that area, which we are currently in the Quill space, people from the leading studios will come to you and ask you, hey, could we collaborate? And so there are many opportunities, and we just have to choose them wisely and choose which of these projects fit into our company and which ones we actually do want to do.
Okay, I think it's more or less answered the question. Any more question in the room? We have one question here.
Hello? Okay. Hi, Fran. Well, first of all, it's amazing all your team and yourself have done, so congrats on that. If I'm not mistaken, all your pieces were without any type of conversation, voice, or language. I guess that this way they are more universal, but I wanted to ask you if you have in mind making another piece that has language, like conversations and so on, if you're working on that. Just curious.
So your question is if we do want to go into projects or into films that have language or dialogue in it, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I don't think we want to avoid that. As a studio, we're not telling us we don't want to do films like that. Currently, with Soda Island, it has been a music label before, and as an IP, it stands for a world made out of music, basically. So that is why this whole world is very sound and music driven, and why we don't even need any dialogue. Or if those creatures would speak, then they would speak in music, basically. Music being their language. And I think for that reason, in Soda Island, we didn't use that. But there could be projects coming our way where we do need dialogue, or maybe even projects where, if you have seen The Remedy by Daniel, it's basically a VR comic where you just have panels and a text that tells you the story. This sort of stuff, I could see ourselves doing, but there doesn't speak anything against it. I think as a studio, we definitely want to go towards projects that are very audio-driven, because it's just an important part of VR storytelling. And we are all kind of audio people. Some of us even do music, make music and stuff. So yeah, I mean, if you have a cool project with dialogue, let me know. Sure, why not?
Okay, I thought that maybe that was your proposal, that you wanted to make all your series of VR pieces without any type of conversation or language specifically, because I don't know, like that's what makes you unique or something. I was just curious about that.
Could you repeat that?
I thought that it was made on purpose, like you would definitely want this to continue, that all your pieces were without language, without... Okay.
Yeah, no, I think, again, we do like where Soda Island is going, and not having to have dialogue and still being able to tell a story with it in a very, as you said, like, on a level that is understood by everybody. But I personally have done films with dialogue. I mean, I've worked in the industry before. I've co-directed a TV series, a children's TV series, like 10 episodes of that, and that was just dialogue, basically, So I know what it needs to work on projects like that, and also the type of storytelling or how the story changes if you have dialogue. But I definitely wouldn't exclude dialogue or just spoken films in our studio.
Thank you.
Any more questions? No. So thank you very much, Dan. It was a real pleasure to hear you with all that knowledge about this new world. And just, I think that for the ending, another big round of applause for you, because you deserve it. Thank you very much. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, guys. Great projects. See ya.
Bye, bye.
Bye, bye.
Bueno, pues ahora ya en español otra vez. Que... Nada. Vamos a tardar 5 minutitos en recolocar un poco aquí esto y vamos a dar paso a la entrega de premios, que ya os avanzamos que viene con sorpresas. Así que si queréis salir a hacer pipí o lo que sea, estáis a tiempo. Muchas gracias.